Good morning, everybody. I wanted to do just a quick update. Oop, there's Finny's ear. Hi, Foo-Foo. Say good morning, everybody, Foo-Foo. Do a quick update, a close and personal, into Finny's ear. Hi, baby. You're a sweetheart. On how Will is doing. So we had our vet appointment with Will on Friday morning, and they did a whole lot of tests. Poor guy went through a lot. He pretty much had something stuck in every hole he owned. Poor kid. But he was very well behaved. He didn't bite the vet. He didn't cause any trouble. Okay. Sorry for the jump. We had very loud noise happen in the background when I was in the middle of talking, and the kids are going crazy playing, which is great. So they're having all kinds of fun, knocking around their ring and climbing the curtains, and they made a big crash, so I'm like, this is not technically ASMR, but still, if you're half asleep and you're listening quietly, I didn't want you guys to have to hear a ginormous crash and a whole bunch of hissing, and such it is with cats. There's Chunky Monkey eating, as usual. That's Mina with her toy she carries around. Foo-Foo has just laid down. There's Gus Gus. Oops, focus, camera. There you go. And there's Miss Lucy. There's Miss Daisy. And focus. Really? Come on, yo. You can do it. There it goes. Okay. My phone is not awake yet either. Neither my phone nor I have had our coffee yet, so please excuse us. That's Alex in the window, and that's Miss Maggie May on top of the cat tree, and Miss Phoebe is around here somewhere, very upset with me because I won't let her outside yet. We had a lot of heavy rain during the night, which was fantastic because we needed it. We had not had a good rain in a long time. We had some wonderful, nice garden variety thunderstorms last night, which was very nice to fall asleep to. Nothing bad. Yes, Miss Austin, we see you. That's Miss Austin climbing up. That thing that you just saw flying over the couch with Gus Gus is a toy that I got for them a while back when I was in PetSmart. I had gotten, they had these little stuffed toys that look like little dinosaurs. And there's a little yellow dinosaur with spikes down its back that everybody loves to pick up and throw. I guess it's just a throwable shape for them. And it's one of their favorite toys. And I actually have another one in the car now, too, because I had Mom got some for her cat, and her cat could care less about it. Now, what was that? What are you doing, Maggie? Is there a couch monster again? No, there's no couch monster this time. But now you've given Daisy the idea, so she's probably going to do it. Okay, Maggie. You do you, baby. She's a little wacko, but we love her. Right, there's Miss Lucy. Oh, then there goes Miss Lucy. She's like, you won't catch me this time, copper. But anyhow, so back to Will. Will we don't know if he's going to be okay or not, basically. Long story short, he had a whole lot of tests done. Long story short, we think it could be, the doctor narrowed it down to a couple of things that it could be. They ran a fecal test, which is where they test their poop. And there was no signs of any kind of worms. So he doesn't have roundworms. There's no tapeworm evidence. There's none of that. He checked his teeth. His teeth are all fine. His gums are healthy. There's no dehydration. Even though he's a bag of bones, there is no dehydration. Because he's drinking water. So that's one of the other options that could be, which I'll get to in a minute. They checked, of course, his ears. He had a lot of earwax, and he did have ear mites. So I've got drops to put in his ears to help with the ear mites. And then they looked around in his nose. He doesn't have anything in his nasal cavity. There's no sign of an upper respiratory. His lungs are clear. His heartbeat is steady and strong. He's just a bag of bones. So, of course, they did, I should say. I say we, I was just standing there the whole time. They did a CBC, which is a something or other blood count test, is what that stands for. They do it on people, too. Basically, it takes a look at your red blood cells and your white blood cells and all the other blood-related stuff, like lymphocytes and all those crazy name things that I don't really know what they do, right? So they took a look at all of that, and he's a little bit anemic, but that could account for the ear mites, because, right, ear mites are basically, I don't know if this is technically correct, but I always think of them as like ear fleas, you know? they are little mites, and they hang out in the ears, and they will drink, they bite and they drink blood, just like fleas kind of do, same kind of a thing, little vampires there. And it can cause anemia if the infection is bad, but he's puzzled because he didn't see enough ear mites in there to really make an anemia reading, but he wasn't severely anemic. He was just slightly anemic. So it's kind of like, So basically, then we saw that his white blood cell count was completely off the charts, way up there. So two things that could mean. One, there could be a massive infection somewhere. And two, it could be some kind of cancer. So, as far as massive infection goes, he is not running a fever. He has no signs of having any kind of upper respiratory issue. However, they tried to get a urine sample, and his bladder had like literally nothing in it. So they can't tell if maybe he has some kind of a bladder issue. He was not showing signs of a UTI, though. Usually when a cat has Mina, you little monkey. When a cat has a urinary tract infection, it's frequent trips to the litter box, like they're trying to pee and they can't. And then when they do pee, it's little itty bitty pee balls. Like when you're cleaning a litter box of a cat, you come across the clump of the pee. It's a big old massive pee clump if you have clumping cat litter. If not, it's a big old puddle, right? When they have a UTI, you'll see frequent little tiny ones. Like instead of it being the size of I don't know. My guys, it's roughly the size of, when they pee a lot. I don't know, my guys, I guess, all have big bladders, but it's like, trying to explain the size of it. Kind of like a mandarin orange. Those cuties you can buy in the store? It's kind of like that size, or a little smaller. It's a big old pea clump. And when they have a UTI, it's more like a small grape, if that. So it's like drastically smaller, if that helps make any sense. But he hasn't shown any signs of that. He's been drinking water, he's been peeing normal. The other option it could be, because the only other symptom he's had is diarrhea. He's had some extremely messy poop. So he could have some kind of a gastrointestinal. There could be something in his stomach or his intestinal lining that is infected and inflamed somewhere along the way. Now, they didn't do an x-ray, but they did feel around, and they did not feel any mass, they did not feel any tumors, they didn't feel anything that would make them stop and say, whoa, that's probably cancer. None of that was present. So what we're going to do now, what we're treating him for, and he goes back next week, is we're treating it as if he's got a infection in his digestive tract, somewhere in his stomach, somewhere in his intestines. That could account for the diarrhea. That could account for the complete loss of weight, because basically the way your body works, you eat, and this is, everything that eats, it's similar as far as I know, the way in how your body processes foods and you get your nutrients. Your stomach breaks it all down, right? And then it goes into your intestines, and as it's going through your intestines is where everything breaks down. Your body absorbs the nutrients, takes what it needs through your intestines, and then the rest of it is the leftovers, which is what you poop out, right? That's how it works. So same thing with a cat, just like they work the same way as people, only it's shaped a little different and it's smaller, that kind of thing. Same basic idea though. So what could be happening is if he's got some kind of an infection or something going on, he's not absorbing the nutrients he needs. It's just flying right through him. And that could be the weight loss. That could also be the extreme muscle mass loss. He's not getting what he needs. Even though he's eating, he's not getting what he needs from the food. It's kind of like just breaking down and passing on through, which, could be due to an infection, or it also could be due to some kind of cancer. We don't know. So we're trying it from the infection standpoint, because that's the easier to treat. So for the next week, he is on half a milliliter of an antibiotic. I gotta find the name. I don't remember the name. Let's see if we can find it. Let's take a trip. Let me put my shoes on. My little Flintstone shoes. Hello, Mina. Oh, it's Miss Marigold. Hi, Miss Marigold. What you doing? Yeah, what? And there he is now, speak of the devil. How you feeling, buddy? Focus. You okay? Yeah? Okay. So, pardon my kitchen, it's a disaster. Like I said, I haven't had my coffee yet. Okay, so the eardrops are called Tresiderm, right? So it's this kind of a little thing. And then he's on, this is basically kitty prednisone. So he gets a half a tablet of that in the morning. I gave him that this morning. And the eardrops are several drops in each ear, twice a day. And then the antibiotic I keep in the refrigerator. You don't have to refrigerate it, but I find that he gags less if it's cold than he does when it's warm. Doxycycline. And he gets a half a milliliter of that every evening. So we do the prednisone in the morning, and we do the antibiotic in the evening, and then the eardrops twice a day. And I will say I notice a bit of an improvement so far, right, buddy? So he wakes me up in the morning now. Used to be the other ones that wake me up in the morning. Now, the past couple of mornings, yesterday morning and this morning, it was Will that woke me up, screeching like a pterodactyl because he wants breakfast. So it's been a while. Not that he wasn't eating, he was eating, but it's been a while since he was eagerly looking for food. Let me put it that way. So I have already noticed an increase in appetite. Now that's probably the prednisone. Because I don't know if you guys have ever been on prednisone. It's a steroid, and it helps with inflammation. They'll give it to you a lot of times if you have a really bad infection somewhere. Like years and years ago, before COVID was a thing, I had a horrible upper respiratory infection, like the worst I ever had, to the point where I was on an inhaler and I couldn't walk like across the room. I'd have to stop and I'd be out of breath. It was bad. It was like really bad. And they actually had me on prednisone. And let me tell you, that stuff is crazy. It's definitely a steroid. One, it makes you hungry. So you got to be careful because you'll eat everything that's not nailed down. And two, it gives you more energy. So I know personally, when I was on the people version of prednisone, I was like freaking cleaning my house. I mean, I was like mopping the walls. It was, it was psycho. Got a dust mop and wrapped a towel around it and dunked it in some soap and disinfectant, and then I was like vacuuming, washing the floors, wiping down the walls, and people are like, "You're supposed to be sick. What are you doing?" And it's like, I have to get this done. It makes you a little bit nutty, which is why I give him the prednisone in the morning. That way, in case he gets wacky, which is kind of funny because I give him the steroids and Lucy and Mina are the ones that are wacky. You guys are a bunch of kooks. What are you doing? But that way, just in case it gets him wired, I give it to him in the morning. And then the antibiotic I give at night, which the prednisone, to get it to him is no problem. It's in a pill form, but you can dilute it in water. So what I do is I dilute it in water so that it turns into like a pasty powder, and then I just mix it in the gravy of the food, and he lips it right up. It's no problem. So I don't have trouble getting that down his throat. The antibiotic is another story. The antibiotic must taste awful, and trying to get it down his throat is an adventure, because there's a little syringe, that you suck it up with. It's not like an actual needle, it's just a tube, that makes suction, that kind of syringe. And then you have to kind of get him to open his mouth and squirt it down his throat. Well, as soon as he has an inkling of the taste of this, he freaks out. So I have to wrap him in a towel. So we make like a cat burrito. And I have to tuck him under my arm and sit in the chair because he goes backwards. So I have to put him somewhere where he can't back up. And then jab the thing in his mouth and squirt it down. Well, then, of course, he freaks out, gags, tries to throw it back up, and then runs around in circles because I'm sure it tastes so bad. And then he drools because the taste is bad. So he winds up salivating, and because he's running around and breathing hard because he's running around, he winds up with, like, it foams up, so then he looks like this psycho cat that's foaming at the mouth. I'm like, it's just the medicine, it's okay. So I have to have a cold rag ready, like a paper towel that's a little bit wet. And then when he starts running around in circles, I wipe his face real quick and wipe it all off his lips and everything. And then that stops the psycho drooling that happens afterwards. So he loses his mind for about 5 seconds, 10 seconds. He freaks out, drools, goes around in circles. You are a silly girl, Marigold. And then afterwards it's all over, and then I give him treats, and it's like nothing ever happened. But for those, 10 seconds, it's the end of the world. So I have to, it's an adventure. The eardrops are a hilarity. I literally have to wear safety glasses because the second they go in, of course, he starts shaking his head all over the place. So I have to make sure I keep my mouth closed, and I have safety glasses on because I get covered in eardrops. I'm not sure if any of them are actually even making it into his head. Don't know. Right? It's Alex. Hi, Alex. There's my boo-boo. So we don't know if any of them are even making it into his head. Oh, my goodness. I just ran headfirst into the... Well, hi there, Mr. Will. Did you know we was talking about you? What you got? Did you know we was talking about you? Yeah, so we're not sure if any of them are even making it into his ear. Because honestly, he just starts shaking his head all over the place. And I get covered in eardrops, so... But we're trying. Hopefully we'll get better at it. But yeah, I have noticed... I mean, he's always been eating, but the appetite, I guess, has increased a little bit, which is probably the prednisone. But he does seem a little bit more energetic, which might also be the prednisone. But he seems okay. We'll see. There was a special food that the doctor wants him to eat from Science Diet. It's a chicken food. It's supposed to be extremely high in nutrients, and of course, Fusspot here wants nothing to do with it. The only thing he will eat is Fancy Feast Primavera. And it's got to be either the chicken, the salmon, or the tuna. Sometimes he'll eat the turkey. But for the most part, that's all he wants. He will only eat that food. And anything else I try to throw at him, he tosses his nose up at. Who is meow meowing? What? What you doing? What you doing? What? What you doing? Hi, Miss Marigold. What you doing? It's Alex. It's Alex. What you doing? Hi, handsome. So anyway, sorry. I got totally distracted. I need my coffee, like really bad, but anyhow. So where was I? The eardrops, yes. Covered in eardrops, and then we'll see. But I do notice a slight improvement. He seems a little more, I guess, happier is the word. He didn't seem necessarily unhappy, but just kind of depressed. So, we're going to see how he does. So, he goes back in a week, and they're going to check his white blood cell count again. And after being on the antibiotic and everything that he's on, if the white blood cell count does not come down, then we have to explore other cancerous possible options. We'll see how that goes, because he's already been tested for feline leukemia, and he doesn't have that particular strain of leukemia, but there is a lot of other cancers that could be present that we just don't know about, that either we can't see yet, we can't feel yet. They did not feel any tumors, they didn't feel any mass anywhere. You know, like I've had cats that had cancer before. When Tigger, who was a cat I had years ago, he was my buddy. I had adopted him from a friend of mine way back in the 90s, and he died just before his 16th birthday. He was 16 years old. He was a good guy. He was my, I called him my Pookie. He was so sweet. But Tigger wound up with cancer. But I mean, when he had cancer, the reason I took him to the vet was because he just started throwing up, and he got to the point where he would not even drink water. He would throw up the water, like nothing stayed down. And when we went for the checkup, the vet was feeling around, and they could physically feel the tumor. They could feel the mass in the stomach. And then they did the x-ray, and you could see it all through his, you know, he was just full of cancer, the poor kid, so we wound up having to put him down. But Will is not showing any of the signs of that. He's not throwing up at all. The only thing he has is some diarrhea, but they checked his poop, you know, when they were looking for the worms and everything, and there was nothing in there that showed any sign of anything wrong, you know, so it's mind-boggling. The only thing we could think of is, if it's not an inflammation or infection going on somewhere in his stomach, another possibility is either another form of leukemia. If the cancer is not anywhere that we could see, it could be somewhere we can't see, you know. And it could be a situation similar to, I have a family member that has a condition called CLL. And basically what it is it's a type of leukemia. And basically what happens is, in your bone marrow, that's where your body makes your red blood cells and your white blood cells. So that's the blood cell factory, right? That's where your body does all the work, and it makes all that stuff. That's what goes on in your bone marrow. And when you have this condition, there are cancer cells in the bone marrow, And what they do is they kind of produce a bunch of these, deranged white blood cells, if you will, that don't do their job. They don't protect and fight disease and all that kind of stuff that white blood cells usually do for you. They just kind of float around and keep producing and producing and producing, and they just take up space. And what winds up happening is they'll slowly choke out the good white blood cells that are doing their job and the red blood cells. So you'll get anemic, and then you'll get almost like an autoimmune disease kind of situation. So it's like where other people would get a cold and get over it, you would get extremely ill. Miss Austin is singing the song of her people. Hello, Miss Austin. Are you okay? Okay. She's singing the song of her people. So where was I? Oh, the deranged white blood cells. Yeah. So it's like an autoimmune thing. So, people that have this condition, you don't necessarily die from the form of cancer. You die from the complications you get because of what the cancer does to you, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like an autoimmune disease, where like your cause of death eventually becomes like pneumonia or something because your body can't fight it because it's not, So nowadays they have amazing technology that goes after this, like the family member I have is on a medication that targets the bad cells and it stops them from being able to multiply. And it's amazing. It just goes in there to the bone marrow and it's like, you, knock it off. And it switches those things off so they can't keep multiplying. And eventually the body, disperses them, and then you've got your good white blood cells and your red blood cells, and they're free to do what they're supposed to do. So it's an amazing thing. It really is. It's like mind-boggling. But it turns out that this condition, CLL, which I forget exactly what it stands for, it's chronic something or other leukemia. Basically, I didn't realize that cats can get it. There's a form of it. And I think dogs can get a form of it too. And it's not something that's contagious. It's not something that's hereditary. It's just something that happens. And I don't even know if they understand why or what causes it. But that is another option that we will potentially look into for Will if this antibiotic treatment doesn't show any improvement at all. It could be very possible that he happens to have the cat version of CLL or some other form of leukemia. It could be something going on in the bloodstream or the bone marrow, where it's something that you can't feel around and say, ooh, there's a tumor. It doesn't work like that. So if that's the case, then I don't know what the next step will be for Will. I honestly don't know. If it turns out to be something really big like that, we might just have to cut our losses and call it a day, which will be a shame. But I mean, if it involves, targeted therapy, I'm sure that's not going to be cheap. And unfortunately, I'm not in a position that I can spend thousands of dollars on him. I'm just not. It's just something I don't have and I'm not able to do. And that's sad, but it's the truth. I just can't. So I'm hoping that what we're on now will help and that'll solve his problem and that he'll be with us for years and years to come because he's a sweetheart. But if it is something very bad, then we might have to decide what to do from there. Of course, first I will explore other options, like seeing if there's an agency or some place that's willing to adopt him that can afford to do all that, or a person who's willing to adopt them. I can check and see, there's Miss Austin, if he has something serious like that that's expensive. Sometimes there are people that have the income to handle that and they like to rescue animals with serious conditions because they have the money to handle it. And of course, if he has an issue like that and I come across, that's what I will try first, is to get him, somewhere with someone who can treat him. But if that's not an option and it's something bad, then, we'll have to do what we'll have to do, because it's not fair to him to keep him hanging on. But for the most part, I'm hoping that this is going to be the answer instead, that the inflammation and infection is the answer. Because I've seen a slight improvement already, and he's only been on the medicine for 2 days. And he seems to be like I don't know, he just acts like he's feeling a little better. He was never really what I could call completely lethargic. I guess a little bit. It's so hard to tell because he has always been, all right, you guys, don't fight over the window. He has always been a very chill cat, That's why I always laugh. I call him Chill Will, because he was always extremely laid back, extremely, where these other nut jobs are climbing the curtains and destroying the walls and doing all the things that they do. Will would just be like, yeah, whatever. He's so incredibly laid back and chill that it's hard to really tell if he's being lethargic or if he's just being Will. It's hard to tell because his personality was never extremely outgoing and bubbly and active. So we'll have to see what happens. So I have high hopes that this is going to work out okay, and that he's going to be all right. But I'm also holding back on my celebration, until I know. So I'm grateful for what I've got right now. That's basically where I am. We're thankful that he's still with us. The battle for the window ensues. Are you happy now? Now Alex will be up there for a few minutes, and Katie will come along and beat the heck out of everybody, and then she'll be queen of the window. Crazy kids. And we'll see how it goes. But hopefully this will do the trick and he'll be okay. But I'm a little nervous, only because it came on so fast. The weight loss was 2 weeks, and all of a sudden he was a bag of bones. I mean, it was extreme. So I'm kind of like, I don't know. I've had so many rescues in the past, I guess, is what's clouding my judgment right at the moment. Is every cat is different. But from all the rescues I've seen over the past, and I mean, I sat down one time and counted it up with my family, and we were laughing because I think we came up to, when we were counting every single stray that I helped over the years, I think by the time we were done, we had 40 or 45 cats that have come and gone, that I've either found homes for or taken to the shelter if I couldn't help them, or, took care of them for a little while and then they moved on someplace else, or, and this is over a course of about 12 years, I guess, 12, 13 years or so. It's a mind-boggling amount when I stop and think of all the ones that I helped over all the years. It's like, wow, I didn't realize that I did that much, but I guess I did. And some of them, moved on to bigger and better things. Some of them, unfortunately, did not. There were one that got hit by a car, and there was one that got into a fight with a fox, and the fox won. There was another one that got into a fight with another cat, and that didn't go well, and we wound up having to put him down, and things like that. That have happened over the past years. But it seems to me that in all the ones that I've seen and all the different things that I've seen, anytime I've seen rapid weight loss in a short amount of time, it's almost always been cancer of some sort. So that's kind of why I'm grateful and I'm thankful for where I am and that he's still with me for now and he seems happy. But I'm also not celebrating yet. I don't think I'm out of the woods yet. I'm hoping this is the answer, but I'm not sure. So I'm just going to hold back the celebration until I know for sure what I'm dealing with. But he goes back next Thursday. So next Thursday, I drop him off at lunchtime. And they're going to take 4 hours and do a whole bunch more tests on him. And then I'll pick him up after work Thursday. And we'll find out what the deal is and what's going on. But it's just funny that the symptoms that he's having are somewhat similar, in some things anyway, to my family member that has CLL. You know, the family member I have has got the same situation where everything is fine, except the white blood cell count is off the charts and you're slightly anemic. You know, but my family member did not have rapid weight loss, where he has rapid weight loss. So, in a way, the intestinal, gastrointestinal thing makes sense, because that would explain also the weight loss and the muscle mass loss and everything. He's not getting the nutrients he needs because his stomach's not doing everything it's supposed to do. It's just breaking the stuff down and moving it on out. And he's not absorbing anything. So, that makes a lot of sense too, looking at the symptoms. So I'm curious to see. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to certain things. Medical things like that intrigue me. When I have a mystery, I'm like, why? It makes me want to grab a whole bunch of books and research and try to figure out what could be going on. So, but that's where we are. But he is okay. He's still drinking water. He's still doing his thing. He's actually over there right now, chomping down on some dry food. So he's eating. Not that he's not eating. And we'll see. And what I'm hoping is, if this is the answer, I'm hoping I will see him less bony in a week. Now, they don't put on weight extremely fast, but usually, from what I've seen, you can feel something in a week. It takes more than just a few days, that I know. Okay. Sorry. Apologies for the edit yet again. Hello, Fufu. Fufu's come up to say hello again. We were talking about Will's weight gain, and then some very large and very loud farm equipment decided to come up the road at that exact moment. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just stop the video, and we'll pick it up again when it's all past. Because you know how them big tractors and stuff. That's one of the joys and the curses of living in the country. Occasionally, when they're getting ready to do stuff in the fields or coming back from the fields, you'll see very large tractors go by. And of course, they're towing all those crazy contraptions that they use in the field. I don't know if they're on their way to the field or on their way back from the field. Nothing looked like it was dripping wet. We got some pretty good rain last night, so I'm assuming they're on their way to the field. Maybe they're going to do something good while the ground's soft from the rain. But anyway, right, Fufu, extreme close-up of Fufu. It was a big tractor, and it made a lot of noise. And it was carrying equipment that was rattling and also making a lot of noise. So we're just like, you know what, let's just stop, and we'll pick up again. It's Mr. Toes. So anyhow, end of the video, really, anyway. I used the opportunity to make a cup of coffee, and I opened the door for the cats to look out. So it's a lot brighter in here than it was, right, Fufu? Extreme close-up. We're going to hope that Will puts on some weight in a week. At least a little bit. It won't be extremely fast, but even if it's a few ounces, that's better than nothing. And we'll take it, and we'll see how it goes from there. So, Finny, get your butt out of the camera there, buddy. So I'll probably do another video here next week, and I'll give you guys an update on what happened with Will and how everything is going. And we'll take it from there, and we'll see how it all goes. So I hope you guys have a good week to come. I didn't get a chance to follow all the weather like I usually like to do. Because I'm a bit of a weather nerd. I'm a bigger weather nerd than I am a medical nerd. But I'm a nerd about both things. I get fascinated by stuff. So I know there was a lot of tornado outbreaks. There was a lot of trouble, I think, in the upper, I think Texas, right, got some stuff. And then maybe Iowa, I think, Ohio, I think, got some stuff. I don't know. Seemed like every time I turned around, there was another tornado outbreak happening somewhere in the middle of the country. So hoping everybody will be okay out that way. And that it's over for a little while and everybody gets some quiet time so they can clean up and do what they have to do. But everybody else here is doing fine. So I hope you guys have a great week. I hope everything goes well. Hello, Miss Fufu. Fufu is in a very affectionate mood right at the moment. So any minute now, she's going to try to knock the phone out of my hand because she doesn't like it if I'm on my phone when she wants attention. And she will literally grab my hand, push the phone out of it. She's a diva. We love her. Right? We love our Fufu, but she is a diva. Yeah. She is a diva. So, we will see you guys later. And I'll give you an update next week on what goes on with Will. So, I hope you guys have a good time. Have a good week. Be good to each other. And we'll talk to you later. Okay. Bye. Bye, Fufu.